This episode is sponsored by Kerkering Barberio, your trusted partner in tax, audit, and outsourced accounting services. Serving Sarasota, Manatee, and the greater Tampa Bay area for over 50 years, KB helps clients achieve their personal and business goals. Visit kbgrp.com to learn more. I've interviewed Mike Quillen at least a dozen times in the past 20 years, learning from his career, especially the ups and downs of running multiple restaurants. Mike is insightful, candid, and nearly always available. To read more about entrepreneurs like Mike Quillen, subscribe to the Business Observer. Go to businessobserverfl.com to subscribe. Hello, and welcome to the Business Observer from the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is my good friend Mike Quillen, president of 3 independent restaurant groups in Florida and North Carolina, including Gecko's Grill and Pub, which he co-founded. Mike, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Nice to be here. Nice to see you always.
Yes, we're going to get into your career. You've been at this restaurant business thing for quite a while, and you have a really cool origin story, which we're going to talk about as well. You and your co-founder, the other Mike. Before we get into that, just to get the audience to know you a little bit more, I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. What is, if any, your biggest phobia? What are you most afraid of?
You know, everything I've seen in all the years in this business. I guess nothing surprises me. Boy, that's a good question.
You'll marinate on that one. We'll get to the next one.
Okay.
Because you're in the restaurant business, I got to ask you, what is the best meal you cook? Like, what's your go-to meal that you personally can cook?
I think a big slab of fresh grilled salmon on the grill.
Excellent. I'd love to eat that sometime. And when you're at your best, what is your morning routine? What is the things that you do when you get up to have a great day?
So I get up pretty early, 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, try to see what, the restaurants, some of them stay open till 2:30 in the morning. So I'll catch up from my end of day yesterday, check my calendar, get everything done, and without phones ringing and emails coming in and texts coming in. So I like to get up early and get a really, really good start to the day and get going.
Maybe that's your biggest phobia then, is getting that update or call that something horrible, not that anything bad happens, but it is a restaurant business and there is alcohol. So maybe that's a phobia.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. It would be issues involving alcohol. And
yeah.
That actually would be it. We spend a lot of time and that's exactly right. Just worrying about the issues with bars and restaurants staying open late at night.
All right. So Gecko's Grill and Pub, I believe dates back to 1992.
Correct.
And so you started it then, and you, and I said the other Mike Gowan. But tell us about how your friendship with Mike and what you guys did even before that. I know it involves parking cars.
Right.
That's kind of this origin story about how you got into hospitality. Tell us about that.
So we played tennis, grew up together, and I guess one of us saw an ad in the paper for valet parkers, and I think he was 16. I was only 15, so we applied for this job. We both took a job. It was out of the In-Between, one of the very fine restaurants back in the 60s and 70s on Siesta Key, and we started working parking cars. I finally turned 16.
Yeah.
And the owner of the valet service, he leased it from the restaurant, and we came to work. We worked a lot, and then I guess he had an issue with the local sheriff's office, and they took him away, and we just started taking over the schedule and coming in and parking cars and paying the lease, and
The show must go on.
the show must go on. And now we own a valet car parking business, and then we expanded that, and we were probably in our senior year in high school. We expanded and had another restaurant, a very fine restaurant, the Summer House on Siesta Key. The late President Bush 41 used to come in there, and Governor Gregg from New Hampshire owned it. So that was really, really exciting. And then all of a sudden we had two nice businesses and had our friends working for us, and actually continued that business into the early college years. I went to attended New College and Manatee on a tennis scholarship. So that was our first business venture.
Yeah. And I know you said before that's where you learned, I guess, tell us about that. You learned like how to hustle, how to be out there just hustling all the time. I mean, what are some of the lessons you learned from those early businesses?
Well, how to show up on time, how to manage people that were your friends, and you learned how to present yourself to the public and take care of the people that came in.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, you have Gecko's, and today Gecko's is this popular place, Sarasota and Manatee counties, and everybody's I think has like their Gecko's, right? State Road 70 or State Road 64 or Fruitville, and so people see that. But tell us about those early days. What were some of the challenges you had to overcome to get to where the business is today?
One thing I think we did really well, we really had slow, controlled growth. When we opened up the business, Mike and I were behind the bar. We had 5 employees. One of the advantages, we both had been in Sarasota. Mike was born here. I was here in the early 70s. And, we knew a lot of people. He went to one high school. There were really 2 major high schools, Sarasota and Riverview then. I went to Riverview, he went to Sarasota. Yeah. So we had a very large friend group. Our families helped out a lot. His mom ran our books for years. But we started out with 5 employees, and that lasted for a few days. And we realized that we needed to start hiring people. And we started out, we were in our early 30s. We started out as a bar, mostly with about 80% food sales. And my father's always been in this business. So we copied what he was doing up in Jacksonville Beach, a place called Monkey's Uncle. He's had now for over 40 years. Started out as we grew older and got married and had families, the business kind of morphed into more of a family restaurant. Yeah. And we've always been really, it was just a natural progression. Now we're serving the grandchildren and children of our friends. Yeah. So it's pretty neat. And a lot of them have worked for us over the years.
That must be pretty cool to see grandkids of people that you've known their families for generations, 2 generations.
Literally, and we've got three generations of a couple of families that work for us as well. And it's just nice to see them grow. And, we've had people get married in our restaurant and then have kids. And then honestly, their kids have kids. So that's pretty cool. And it's the town, the community that we grew up in. So
all right. So you're talking about hiring people. What have you developed as your hiring philosophy when you're looking for good people that could be leaders, that could run restaurants or run shifts or just lead in general? What characteristics stand out to you?
So a big one to me is confidence. I look, and it's constantly that's really one of the major focuses is just recruitment. You're constantly recruiting. But it's and then after the hiring process, it's just, are they leading by example? Do they have consistency? Do they have focus? And, I call it the hospitality quotient. It's something that's, it's difficult to teach, but does somebody truly enjoy what they're doing? Yeah. Do they engage with the staff? And now we're talking management here mostly is what I'm, but how do they engage with the staff? Does the staff know they care? Are they there working in the trenches with them? And do they enjoy serving the guests? Do they really engage the guest?
Yeah. As you said, confidence. So you're looking for that outward person that can handle themselves in that way.
Yeah, they're certainly gonna make mistakes, but energy and confidence is a
Yeah.
really big deal in the restaurant business.
Yeah. And you said you're constantly recruiting. I mean, that's interesting too. How have how has it been hiring people, say, the past few years? The hospitality industry can be fickle and up and down, but where are we in sort of the state of hiring in hospitality?
We've been doing this for a long time, and we have certainly had a lot of challenges coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we've just put some great teams together. You hear over the generations and over the years that, well, it's this Z generation is
Right.
this and that. And you know what? They're really smart and they're whip smart. And if you can just get the focus, I don't complain about this generation all coming up. I'm really happy. And we've seen a couple of them now. We're doing fine in recruiting.
Yeah.
You always want better and better and more skilled people, and as you open up new restaurants, things will get weeded out, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of confidence in the new generation that's coming up, and to try to tell folks, we've gone from one restaurants to a number of restaurants that it's how to produce the scale, and I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, because you mentioned, so you have multiple. You have the Gecko's side, you have Waterside Hospitality, and then you have, is it 2 restaurants in North Carolina?
It's one right now.
Okay.
And that has been really a lot of fun up there. It's extremely challenging area. It's a small community up in the mountains. Just to go in, it was a 40-year-old restaurant I took over about a year and a half ago with my business partners, and just to change a culture of a 40-year-old restaurant. It's a beautiful place called Mike's up in Cashiers, Sapphire, North Carolina.
How do you do that? How do you change the culture of a restaurant? What are some steps you're taking to do that?
Just leading by example and showing the team that you're there to support them, and putting the dollars into the 40-year-old restaurant and fixing things up. And I've actually been in that community for 25 years, so it's not like a carpetbagger moving in. I've known a lot of folks, but and diving into the community, the chambers, the schools, the churches, getting involved.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really, really the key, and it's just been wonderful watching that business grow and seeing the community's confidence in it.
Yeah. Well, and that's certainly a mark of Gecko's, right? Schools. I know the sheriff's department Sarasota County Sheriff is a really big entity for you guys to support. How did that sort of mindset come that you guys were going to be supporting education and law enforcement and these other entities that you support?
Children's schools, like you say, law enforcement. These are the people and veterans organizations too. Operation Patriot Support. Those guys are incredible. It's the right thing to do. It's the community we grew up in. Take care of the schools. Mike and I were both, started our early years, and again, I went to college here. But supporting the schools and the future, and it's amazing. What the law enforcement, they put on a bulletproof vest and carry a gun every morning to go out and protect our families and our businesses. And we just have a tremendous respect for what they do.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about mentors. And you mentioned your dad owns and has owned a restaurant in Jacksonville Beach. Has he been a mentor? What have you learned from him, and who have been some of your other mentors?
He's been a huge mentor, a huge supporter. We have similar businesses. He's just got a lot of common sense, and his ability to not get flustered when he has problems and things blow up. He's just got a real solid, consistent attitude. The late John Metz from Metz Culinary, that he was just an amazing man. Unfortunately, Didn't get to know him until later in life, but just a huge $1 billion restaurant group that he formed. They're actually in Sarasota right now, up in Northgate, and tons and tons of people over the years. Dick Rivera, who's a great guy that owns Bricks here, he's still out there at his age, opening up restaurants.
He's great. A quick plug. He's also a previous guest on From the Corner Office podcast, talking about Bricks and what he's been able to do. What have you learned? I mean, Dick too is similar to you in terms of, I think, of his hiring philosophy, just constantly looking for good people. What have you learned from Dick in your career?
We both kind of we started our corporate career with Steak and Ale, which begat Bennigan's and Chili's and Outback and Houston's. It's just great to get together with Dick and hear the stories. And he went, huge in the corporate world. I think he was a senior vice president president of Red Lobster at one point. But, all the people that he's introduced me to and the circles of people and the really cool little conferences he's invited me to. I just cherish the time I get to spend with him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun too.
Yes. And you mentioned your dad's ability to stay calm and stay rational, even when things aren't going your way. I'm curious how you have dealt with setbacks, whether it's, obviously there are times you have to let employees go or just other things. Again, we talked about alcohol. It's the restaurant business. Stuff's going to happen. As a leader, how have you dealt with things not going your way?
One important thing, at least for me personally, is to try to kind of stay in your lane and focus on what you, and it's hard because there's so much going on. There's so many different things coming at you all the time.
Yeah.
One of the mistakes we made, Mike and I had made in the past, was in the early 90s, probably about 4 or 5 years after we opened Gecko's in 92, we decided we were watching this health trend and the big smoothie thing with Smoothie King and Jamba Juice, and we traveled around just checking these places out, and we decided we'd open up a health food restaurant. So, we had a nice little spot. It's actually where J-Pan is in Paradise Plaza. 41. And we decided we were going to do breakfast, lunch, dinner, and it's called Wild Eats. And, everybody said they wanted to be healthy, but I still think they were lying.
Nobody wanted, they want French fries.
That's right. They wanted French fries at Smacks. But they, it was, and they surely didn't want to pay for all those expensive products. So I think we were a little bit ahead of our time on that one.
So, and how do you do you just kind of chalk it off? I mean, how do you and move on to the next day? How do you sort of mindset? How do you handle that?
Well, we learned very, very quickly that breakfast was very difficult.
Yeah.
And we learned a tremendous amount from it. I mean, there's a lot to be said that you do learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Mike, we're recording here in late March, 2025. You got a lot of things happening right now. What can we look forward to, whether it's either from Gecko's or Watershed, the rest of this year, whether it's menu items, expansions, what's hot and exciting and coming up for you the rest of this year?
So, it's been a tough year in Sarasota, Florida for all businesses and restaurant businesses. We had 3 named storms, as we all know, in a matter of month and a half. So you had you get through the summer. It's the natural cycle of restaurants. You get through the summer and then you start going up the hill, chugging up the hill there about mid-October. And, at that point we had water 3-4 feet up the walls in numerous restaurants, particularly the waterfront ones. And, just to try to build things back together. And the same thing actually happened in North Carolina. Ironically, it was, they got just absolutely clobbered up there where the restaurant was closed. There was no phone or internet for almost 2 weeks. And, people were telling people not to come to Sarasota, Florida, or the West Coast, that
Right.
we're not in business. And it was the same for North Carolina. So I got a double whammy with that.
You did.
And so, it's always striving to, I think, and also in getting these kids, it's striving to, it's an obsession with your products and your service.
Yeah.
It's just a constant obsession of trying to make things better. We recently opened a oyster bar in downtown called Lefty's. Watershed did, and it's been really neat learning about oysters. I travel all over the world. We were in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, just trying the different seafoods and the different. We ate barnacles in Portugal. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But trying to kind of go outside of the box on some of the, learning about oysters. I'm just kind of obsessed with that, studying, different parts of the seafood from all over the world to try.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff with seafood coming up. Always looking for good A+ locations. But again, back to try to stay in your lane and keep things under control.
Yeah. Well, that's another good lesson. Constantly learning. You're still learning about oysters, even though you've been in the restaurant business for 40 years or so. Love that.
Constantly, just always studying what's going on. I'm obsessed with that.
Excellent. Well, Mike Quillen, Gecko's Grill and Pub and Watershed Hospitality, thank you for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.